References to the foreigners' tribunals are made in three possible manners. First is a reference by the Assam Border Police Organization or the Superintendent of Police Border is made to the foreigners' tribunal. By the way of this reference, the Superintendent of Police Border has to do two tasks. First would be for anyone who's deemed to be suspicious or a migrant who's not a citizen. The border police official is supposed to visit the home of this person and conduct a detailed inquiry, a 16-question inquiry, which entails multiple questions about the person, their family, the kind of documentation they have, the kind of access they have to voters' rolls, and since when they have been residing in the state of Assam and in India. On the basis of this form being filled up, they need to still have reasonable suspicion that this person is deemed to be a foreigner and not a citizen, and only after that submit this form of inquiry to the Superintendent of Police Border. The Superintendent of Police Border then has to apply their mind to this inquiry form that is submitted to them by the inquiry officer, and upon being convinced that such a person is indeed a foreigner and there is a plausible case to be made against this person, forwards the reference to the Foreigners Tribunal. The Foreigners Tribunal then has to take cognizance of it and issue notice to the concerned person. The second way a case can be referred to the foreigners' tribunals is through the de-voter mechanism that I previously mentioned. Under the de-voter mechanism, if the electoral registration officer of a particular district finds it suspicious that some person whose name is on the voter roll is deemed dubious or suspicious, the ERO is the electoral registration officer asks the local verification officer of that area to make a trip to this person's house or where they're residing. Upon the visit, the person is again supposed to fill out a detailed inquiry form by asking the suspected person multiple questions as to since when they've been on the electoral roll, since when they've been residing in their country, as well as the documents that are available with them. The person is provided a certain period of time for this on-spot verification and to bring forth the documents to the LVO. The local verification officer, upon being convinced by this inquiry, forwards such an inquiry to the electoral registration officer, who again has to apply their mind to the contents of the inquiry and cross-check whether the facts and information mentioned in this inquiry is valid. Upon being convinced and upon applying their mind, the electoral registration officer then forwards such an inquiry to the foreigners' tribunal, who again then have to apply cognizance to the materials that have been collected during the course of this inquiry, as well as the information that is presented in this inquiry. And if the foreigner tribunal then believes it's a case which deems to be heard by the tribunal issues notices to the person concerned. So it's worthwhile to note that at all three stages, from when the inquiry happens to when an inquiry is processed either by the Superintendent of Police Border or the electoral registration officer, as well as when a reference reaches the tribunals, all three authorities have to ensure that there is sufficient application of mind in the inquiry and all the documents collected are valid documents, and that there is enough material on record to proceed against a person. If there is no such material on record, then the tribunal cannot assume jurisdiction of a particular case. The third way, which is a spillover way through which cases are referred to the tribunals, was cases of under the IMDT Act of 1983, after it had been struck down, automatically transferred to the tribunal. So all existing and pending cases were automatically transferred to the tribunal system, which then got allocated according to the jurisdiction and the district under which the tribunals were set.